Hi, friends. I'm Mary Richardson, rapid transformational therapy practitioner. Where I help you get unstuck from the big things that are keeping you in places you don't want to be, like codependent relationships, habits you don't want. All right, let's talk today about codependency. I really want to talk about what are some codependent examples or signs. So when you're codependent, you might not see the signs until afterwards, till you look back on the situation. So especially this video is for you if you are um, you're crushing it in other areas of your life, but you've noticed that in relationships or anything that causes you to have a professional relationship or a personal relationship where you just sort of go back to being codependent. Like you can be really confident in your business, but in certain relationships, you sort of regress back to being codependent. So some of the signs of being codependent are when you will take on all these people-pleasing attributes. In other words, you'll agree with whatever anybody says. Especially, I find that it's usually like one or two people that really trigger us. They remind us maybe of someone else in our past. Doesn't mean that they're toxic, but something about them or the situation feels like a trigger to an earlier part of our lives that maybe we didn't feel emotionally safe to express ourselves. So some things that can trigger it are, if you were a child and you were in a place where you just couldn't leave because you're a kid, right? So you may have developed these codependent characteristics where you discovered that you were safer or you had more attention or more what felt like more love, or you got things by expressing yourself codependently, meaning if you agreed with a certain parent or a caregiver or an adult, that you would get more attention. So you realize, oh, okay, if I agree with them, no matter how I feel, if I repress my own feelings, if I repress what I really want and just agree with them, it's a little easier for me. So what happens is very quickly, like children, especially, they never think it's the parents' fault or the caregiver's fault that they can't express themselves or feel safe. They will always blame themselves. So now we are an adult and we find that we are having issues in like certain areas. So those codependent traits can feel like a habit where you don't communicate, you don't express your feelings, you will wait to see what what another person says and just agree with that. Where you don't feel comfortable like making decisions with that particular person, you just let them decide and then you just go along with it. Because somewhere along the way, you may have formed a belief that that's a safer place for you to be. And where it comes into being a problem, especially if you're crushing it in other areas of your life, you may have realized that it's like you can be authentic in one area of your life and be really confident, but in other areas, you don't feel comfortable being you. So I've noticed that, for example, when someone feels this way, they may have certain relationships where they think back that that person really doesn't even know me because all I ever do is agree with them. That's not my, I don't agree with them. I know what I believe, but I don't agree with them. And they don't really know me because I don't feel comfortable being authentic. So it can help you to reevaluate those relationships and if they're really relationships you want to stay in. But this sort of what I call, or what it feels like, this dualistic you, where in your business, you're fine, you're crushing it, you're confident, you're helping others, you're doing great. But in these other relationships, you sort of regress back to this like childlike, people pleasing, codependent persona. And you can tell a healthy relationship where it gets confusing is you might be in a healthy relationship, but you just feel like, and this is different for everybody, but you may feel like you've never felt comfortable just being authentically you in a personal relationship. So it's your go-to to be codependent. And you might even notice like your partner might even say things like out of concern, like, you never talk about yourself. But what you may have thought is, you may have thought that emotionally, will I be safe if I talk about myself? Or will they just zone off and ignore me and sort of invalidate me? So that's where personal relationships can get really skewed sometimes. Sometimes it really is not a healthy relationship, and sometimes it is a healthy relationship. It just needs a little bit of communication and work. And that's where being codependent can feel really uncomfortable, because you have to take that chance to understand if you're willing to be more authentically you and to be willing to see what happens. If your boundaries are constantly being crushed when you say no, if you say no and you feel like, or maybe the other person, a narcissist, for instance, will always try and crush your boundaries. They want an explanation whenever you say no, and they want you to change that no to a yes as quickly as possible so it does not inconvenience them. So if you're in a healthy relationship, healthy people don't do this. They might not want to know, like, why don't you want to go eat there? Why don't you want to go to that restaurant? And if you say why, they're okay with it. They're like, all right, I just wanted to know. Maybe it was something that I needed to know about the restaurant. But a narcissist has every intention of never giving you what you want. So your no just means that they're still going to go eat at that restaurant, and they just want you to give in sooner rather than later. So codependency, though, can lead to a lot of painful experiences, and it can skew sometimes the reality, because you can be so triggered. A person can be triggered by, well, anything, different for everybody. But if you have had a toxic, narcissistic parent, and you just never feel comfortable expressing your opinion, that can become your whole persona no matter what situation you're in. So nobody really knows you because you don't feel comfortable sharing who you are. So overcoming it, though, is phenomenal, because you can have an amazing transformation when you discover why and how you became that way, and what was the meaning behind it, what was the belief behind it, why you chose to keep that program running. Because it does become like a default program that's running within you. Codependency you can recover from it, just like anything. It takes work. If you are willing to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So, like changing any habit, quitting smoking, running your business, it wasn't always comfortable. You have to be willing to go through those levels. So, I hope this helps somebody. Codependency, I think a lot of people are codependent, especially especially if you had a really toxic experience or an experience where you felt trapped or stuck that you couldn't leave, often as a child. If that's the situation that you were in, but now you're an adult, codependency might not be the only thing holding you back, because it's a symptom of something deeper. Just like self-sabotage, procrastination, if we just look at the symptoms and try and get you to not procrastinate, it doesn't really get to the root cause. You know, the old example of you pull the weed out, you pull the leaves off the weed, but you never get to the root, then it's going to keep coming up. So all the symptoms, they can shift, they can change. You can say, "Oh, I don't procrastinate anymore, but I have terrible insomnia. I just don't sleep." So it shifts. And at the root cause of it, you have to be willing to, you don't have to necessarily relive the trauma. And I think that's where people get afraid, that they will have to relive it in order to heal it. And with what I do, my clients tell me that it can be very healing. It can feel very like they went to a place and made some changes that they aren't able to do consciously. So I do hypnosis, but it doesn't feel like hypnosis. It feels more like a conversation, but yet we go really, really inward to get to the root cause so that you can make the changes that you want to make. And you're in control the entire time. That's a fabulous thing about what I do, that we decide what it is you want to change. Like, let's say it's codependency and it's affecting you in a really major way. And it's become a huge problem. That's something that doesn't have to take years to overcome. So I hope this helps you overcome or get an idea of how codependency might be hampering your business, keeping you stuck at this level, not really going to a higher level because you keep coming back to all these situations that take your focus off your business, take your focus off of you pursuing your goals and your ambitions. And just want to leave you with this thought. What has it cost you already, your codependency? I hope this helps you, though. I'll see you in the next video. I'm Mary Richardson. Bye for now.